7-member multi-agency team to coordinate the administration anti-corruption effort in a move aimed at tightening the fight against graft and economic crimes. Now, of course, the membership will be formed by the key stakeholders, especially in the security sector, led by the National Intelligence Service, NIS. You do remember when the president was addressing members of the parliament, he clearly stated that he consumes raw information, and that raw information emanates from the National Intelligence Service. That is NIS, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, the body mandated to fight the vice, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, ODPP, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, DCI, the Financial Reporting Center, FRC, Asset Recovery Agency, ARA, the Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, and the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, PPRA. Now, this will be the 11-member team that will be focusing in dealing with corruption within various key institutions, including Parliament and other bodies, especially within even the executive as well as the legislative arm of the government, to root out the vice that, of course, has denied Kenyans many opportunity for economic growth. That will be a keen focus for the first hour. Also, we'll be talking to our various pundits who are joining us on set. Also, the partnership between the Kenya Kwanza and the Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, of course, how it will pan out before the general election. And then finally, we'll cap it off with the impeachment proceedings that will start today, this afternoon, in the Senate, where the Kericho governor, that is Dr. Eric Mutai, was impeached decisively on last Friday by the County Assembly of Kericho, where a total of 33 out of the 47 members of the County Assembly supported the motion to remove him from office. You do remember this will be the second time the governor will be facing the Senate. Now, what the senators will be convening to do this afternoon is to decide whether the governor's impeachment proceeding will be heard, of course, on a plenary or the committee way, an 11-member committee to be formed. We'll see how it will pan out at exactly 2:30 p.m. Talk to us on our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 and at Abdiaziz Hashim 2. In the second hour, we'll be talking about matters to do with health. But let me introduce my guests this morning. They are none other than Kimani Mwangi, public policy analyst. Mwangi, karibu sana.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Okay, next to Mwangi, it's Oscar Omondi, governance and public policy expert. Oscar, karibu tena.
Karibu, asante sana, Abdi.
And then finally, Evans Sifuna, a political analyst as well. Welcome, Evans.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes. Let me start with you, Mwangi. The conversation that the president kick-started started at the devolution conference, pointing an accusing finger at the legislators. He also talked about it during the PG meeting between ODM and UDA. Let me get your initial thoughts.
Well, a good act is a good act, delayed or not. It's a good thing to eventually seeing the president form the multi-agency team that he came up with to fight corruption. It is the mendacity in the process that is laughable. Because if there is corruption from legislature, then corruption is a two-party involvement. There is the giver and the taker. The work of legislature is to oversight the executive. So by president calling legislature corrupt, he is indirectly saying that he is the head of an executive that is corrupt, that has been giving bribes to the members of parliament. Well, I don't think the president is well-meaning in this whole thing. I have a personal feeling that he is weaponizing the team against a targeted team, most likely the radicals that have been so hard on him. Maybe he has information, as he said, from NIS, that some of them have been caught in the eating, and it is the payback time. Because I fail to understand how a president who's been implementing a criminal entity called the empowerment program, where he has money that has not been budgeted for, buying inducements to disenfranchised members of the citizenry, buying the motorbikes, all those things we've seen being paraded by his deputy and the members of parliament. We've seen his close allies gift over 10 million in one fundraiser. We've seen the deputy president use close to 3 billion so far in this thing they are calling empowerment programs. that have not budgeted for. We don't know where they are getting the funds from.
Okay.
Then one day this president becomes a saint who all of a sudden realizes there is too much corruption emanating from the assembly, and we must bring it to an end. What he's doing, in my opinion, in fact, he has quite a number of, quite a huge population against him because of his poor governance. And all of a sudden now he has decided to make another enemy from the National Assembly. Whatever political ingenuity this one is, I'm waiting to see where it is heading to. A good thing, but to me it is a smoke screen, it is window dressing and nothing more.
Okay. Oscar, I saw you shaking your heads. Give us also initial thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's a different way of how Mwangi thinks about it.
Okay.
That the president has said that it's too expensive on types of bribery that is taken by the legislature. The legislature has to do oversight, and the buck stops to the president. If it is corruption, the person who has to lead it is the president, and he is leading it. He said, okay, now we have evidence on this. If the legislature want to do oversight to make the presidents and the executive be accountable, they have just to have their leadership and put things correct, that, okay, there are guys here who've been doing this and this and this. If there's corruption in any ministry, it is upon the legislative arm of government to check and make sure the executive is accountable for all their actions and things are done as per budgeted for. Otherwise, we can't keep on blaming the president of everything that he does. He says we fight corruption and corruption is here and we have evidence now. What do we do? Now do we again stop him that, oh, you are wrong. We don't believe that. It's malicious, I think so. There's an opposition that just keeps on opposing everything. If the president, yesterday they were saying the president is, Kenya is a corrupt nation. The opposition has been on and on. Now the president comes and says, okay, you said we are corrupt. And if we are corrupt, what do we do? Corruption starts with whoever is supposed to protect, the protector. The people's representative are actually parliamentarians. House of People is the parliament. It's supposed to be the protector. And if the people who actually probably, from what Mwangi says, that the executive gives the bribes, and the executive says, probably it's too much now. We have to stop this one. It's things on the right order. Me and you know that there's corruption in Kenya. At one level, almost everybody who operates either business or does anything or moves in our roads at one time or the other, somebody has given a bribe. Will I want to lie that Oscar I've not paid a bribe? I have paid a bribe to a traffic police here and there sometimes when you're busy doing some other things and they're stopped because you're overspeeding and probably you didn't know you're overspeeding, then yes, you do that. Let us be realistic on our analysis of stuff. There's something that how it ought to be and how it is. We have, first of all, number one, to deal with some of these issues, we have to own up. Own up is saying as it is, that yes, so and so and so and so, and I myself have been corrupt. Like the question the president asked, that there was 10 million that was given for you to pass the money laundering bill.
Anti-money laundering
bill. If we analyze that speech, not because of opposition or because of what, and you know, I do politics and I teach politics, and we do realistic things, the realistic way of looking at things. Analyze that speech, that there's some money that was given to the tune of 10 million, and did you receive that money? What is he saying? He's admitting that we gave the money. Yes, but did you receive it? He's even shocked that people don't receive it. Probably the people in parliament, the leadership in parliament, pushed for the executive so that a bill can pass. And that is what happens. When you want to get something like probably a government tender or anything, you know what happens. The people in authority, commissioners and what have you, will push you left, right, and center that something has to be given. But when we come to like these stations, we pretend that we are angels. No, this is what happens, the realistic thing. It ought not to happen like that, but it happens. So, what do? We start by admitting. One thing I like in President, even President Uhuru Kenyatta said the same thing. Not just President Ruto. He said every day Kenya loses 1.2 billion shillings.
2 billion, yes.
He said 2 billion shillings. Yes. And he said it starts from my desk. He was just admitting that the corruption in this country is not just outside there. Here where I sit. You start by admitting that this is overwhelming. This is the problem that we have. How do we tackle it? Okay. I think at this time, we just need to support the president. And the people who should lead in support of the president should be the opposition, who've been saying Kenya is corrupt, Kenya is corrupt. Parliament, for example, the argument about the NGCDF thing. Okay,
we'll reach to that. Don't go there. Sefuda?
For me, I want to concur with my brothers here, what has been contributed on this topic. For me, I support our president, what he has said, because I've been following him very well, even during the PSG meeting at the Omapay. Then when the leaders there speak about corruption, even the recent meeting, what was held at Karen, I think it was on Monday, if I'm not wrong, I think on Monday. Then the president took the platform and said that the way I understand him, saying that he's not comfortable with the parliament because the parliament, most of the MPs or most of some senior people in the parliament, they are getting backdoor money. So, by the end of the day, for me, the way I understand how the parliament works, and the parliament, they understand the parliament actually has stood with this government, even from day one, even the last year budget. MPs go through a lot of things to make sure that they are past the parliament. So for me, I think, Mr. President, I think what he's doing is a good thing for the country, but I think I cannot support how he's handling this corruption thing. Because when you go to the public, like now, I'm in the public television. When I started complaining about this house, or I started complaining about my brother here, then which kind of message that I'm passing out there? So for me, I prefer Mr. President because he's our leader. And he's our leader, and he's the one that holds the government to be accountable. I think the best way to deal with corruption for me, because the parliament has the speaker, the Senate has the speaker. Why, Mr. President, is just invite maybe the speaker, and maybe because we have the minority leader, we have the majority leader, just to sit maybe in somewhere and discuss this. Then going to the public and start maybe complaining, because at the end of the day, if we start complaining about the MPs, I complain to you today. I say maybe you are not a good presenter, something like that. And tomorrow, I need to be in KBC to be interviewed. Tomorrow, the president will come up with something to go to the parliament. And these are the same people that you are complaining about corruption, and you need them to support you to pass certain projects. Because the way I understand, the government cannot pass or cannot run without going through the parliament process. So for me, I think I suggest the president is supposed to come up with a way of handling this corruption thing than going to the public. Then another thing I can add, we need to ask ourselves, where the rain start?
Beating us.
Yes. Yeah.
Mwangi, as you respond also, but tell us, as a public policy analyst, then how is the executive supposed to approach this situation now?
Firstly, Oscar is very right that we ought to support the president when he does things right. I agree with him to that extent. But we are also entitled to critiquing him when he thinks that whatever he's doing is hypocrisy. Firstly, the reason I'm saying that the mendacity in the whole process makes it laughable is Oscar knows that the president assented to the anti-money laundering bill. He made it a law. This he did with full knowledge that that law is as a result of corruption. That while the parliament was supposed to make sure that some things are done in the right way, and they didn't do because they were induced, he went on and signed it into a law. Then he comes and tells the members of parliament, I know you received 10 million to tinker with it, to give the country a bad law that can't help it deal with money laundering menace.
Okay.
Right? If that is not hypocrisy, what is it? Now, the president is complaining about the oversight of a parliament he has state captured himself. Our constitution envisages a government that is formed in conformity to the constitution. Article 3.2 of the constitution is very clear how a government should be established. Now, we know the role of the minority and the majority in the National Assembly.
Okay.
That the minority should play oversight to the majority, as both play oversight to the executive, because the constitutional framers of the constitution understood it is difficult to tell Kimani, who's been elected, say, on UDA, to oversight UDA completely. But because Oscar has been elected on ODM, which is now the minority, Oscar can play oversight to me if I fail to oversight my own government. Now, he state captures it by forming a mongrel called broad-based government, which is an affront to the constitution. He does away with the minority in parliament, which should oversight the majority, then comes to complain that there is no oversight. Again, he's into that hypocrisy. Right?
Okay.
It is good to fight corruption, but then we must mean it when we say we are fighting corruption. Now, just the other day, hold on, just the other day, every time Auditor General opens her mouth to report on how we spend our money, we get shocked because a scandal is in the offing, right? He is the head of the executive, belittled with all these scandals, right? All along, he has never felt it important. 2 years down the line, in fact, 3 years down the line, he's never felt it important to form this multi-agency. When all this money has been going into waste, then he wakes up one day and feels, now, is it that we've eaten to the full and now we can start arresting those who are attempting to eat? Or has it just happened to us that it is bad to be corrupt and we need to end it? So when did he see the light? When did he have the Paul moment for him now to change all of a sudden and become the same who starts fighting corruption?
He saw the light in Homer Bay. Yeah.
All right.
He saw the light in Homer Bay. And when he saw the light, you know very well, Mwangi, that we've had instability in government, which was caused by the Gen Z protests. After the Gen Z revolution, we've had things that have been happening. And it needed stability. Among the things that we lost at that particular time was the stability that we really needed in government, or President William Ruto. And I'm saying, if we do analysis, let's be factual on some of the things. What is possible and what is not possible. Sometimes we think, you know, we also a very young democracy. Our democracy is how long? It's not even 60 years like our country, because we had a one-party state up to 1983. Up to 1992, then we've had a multi-party democracy since then until now. And now we are growing. Our constitution, our new constitution that we are implementing is 15 years old. Managed by different people and managed by different regimes. This regime, according to Mwangi, that for the last 2 years, we've had this and multi-agency has not been formed. What is wrong with forming it now? When we realize that, okay, probably the bribe giver has discovered it is too expensive to keep. It's not sustainable. I can be giving you bribe, and I realize that it is not sustainable anymore. And again, now because of the broad-based government and because of, I think, the aid of ODM to government, I think the president has the stability now to call shots and tell Parliament, look, you cannot manipulate me anymore. It's enough is enough. And Mwangi, some of these things must start somewhere. You get me right? The fact that it was not done yesterday does not mean that it cannot be done today. Secondly, president and the executive giving bribes. Yes, logically, the bribe giver and the bribe taker are all wrong. But again, if the bribe givers say, this is not sustainable, I'm stopping, why don't we just allow them to stop, and when they stop, and we see what to do? Thirdly, Mwangi, about the minority and the majority. Parliament, the drafters of our constitution, intended that Parliament oversights the executive. Not the minority side of Parliament to oversight the executive. No, the entire parliament. We don't have opposition nowadays. We have a parliament and we have a legislature. And within parliament, there's the minority side and the majority side. But even the majority leader, if you go, minority leader is like a state officer because he has all the perks that we need because of what we have. We don't have an opposition party. And sometimes in such a situation, people can even cross over. Parties can have probably post-election, on particular issues, post-election coalitions. Probably we have a money laundering bill that is going on. What are we going to do? It is a cross-party thing, or is a party that is opposing, or an individual bill. An individual bill, somebody can bring an individual bill, but that doesn't mean that because you're a member of this party, unless there's a party whip, that the party as a team, as an organization, has decided to support that particular bill. But if there's no whipping of the party, then individual members of parliament have the right to take an opinion of what they want. But I think over this particular issue, we just need to support the president and let the president stop. If the executive that is heading has decided we're not giving bribes to MPs anymore, we go that way and stop at that level, because that is the highest level of corruption that we have in the country. Leave alone the corruption that you will take because of a traffic offense or like this ones. When the executive and the legislature are in bed on issues, then we are all in a mess. And now at this particular juncture, the executive says that we can't work as you want with the legislature the way you want it to work. This thing is not sustainable. We have to stop it, and we have evidence. And now that evidence, he says, I'm not going to mention here. Those guys wanted him to mention. He said, I'm not mentioning here. We are arresting them. And the following day, he appointed a task force to deal with it, which is will start the work soon, and will get to the root cause of this thing, Mwangi.
Okay, Sifuna. How, in terms of addressing this particular issue, a question that I posed to Mwangi, but Mwangi evaded, but I'm circling to him. And in terms of how to handle it now, how should the executive, aside from this multi-agency team that is supposed to carry out these particular investigations, the president, what Oscar is saying is true. MPs wanted the president to name those MPs who are asking for those particular funds. He said that the investigative agencies that will arrest these people. So in terms of moving forward and ensuring this particular issue is addressed adequately so that Kenyans, at least at the end of the day, can see accountability and transparency, how should it be approached?
I think for me, I just want to add to what I said earlier. You know, the president is the head of state. That means that he has power in his hands and he has mandate. And I've seen that actually, I think beginning of this week, I heard that there's another agency that has been formed, that which is going to monitor the parliament or to check in
not
the
just
parliament,
the executive, all the arms of the
yes,
government.
Exactly. So for me, I think it's a good thing. But I think the approach that the president has took maybe to engage the parliament, because at the end of the day, if you say that the parliament is corrupt, that one I can concur with my brother, I can agree with him, that is true. Kenya, we are known by the corrupt. That one is there. And it's something I think is in our DNA. That one we cannot change. But I think the approach, regarding to your question, the approach that how we are going to overcome this. I think the president is supposed to engage the both house. That means the parliament, the speaker of National Assembly, and the speaker of Senate, and the majority leader and the minority leader, to invite them. For me, I don't agree with Mr. President to go to the public and start mentioning names. And by the end of the day,
he did not mention names.
Yes, oh no, he didn't say, but he said that certain MPs. But what I can tell you for Philly today on this TV, I'm sure President he cannot go ahead and mention any names, because at the end of the day, he needs the parliament. I need the parliament to support the government to run. Because if you start mentioning, like now I say, Mwangi is a corrupt MP. And you know, you need to give the evidence showing that this person, you came to me, you had some issue if it's a governor in your county, maybe you have a corruption cases, and maybe you are coming to Senate to do this. So you want to see me so that I can see how I can facilitate your case to be favored.
Okay.
But the problem is, for me, it's the approach.
Okay.
I think the president is not doing the right way to handle the parliament. Because at the end of the day, if we say that and we need the parliament tomorrow, what will happen when we bring another issue in the parliament?
Okay.
Yes.
Joining us right now is Dr. Mark Matunga, a senior political analyst. Daktari, thank you for joining us. And I can see you have donned the Harambee Stars, at least jersey. Wengine wetu tumenyonga tai hapa ndani.
I apologize. I didn't know.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
I didn't get the memo.
Even the public sees that is Geoffrey Rocco clearly stated we should be wearing these attires when they come to work.
I mean, you guys should be fired.
Next time.
So, Daktari, we start on that particular note. You have found us that the discussions were getting a little bit hotter. In terms of the approach that the president has taken, your view on that as well. But in terms of policy, don't we have enough policies to address this particular issue? Because at the end of the day, we have the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, EACC, that is a body that is mandated to handle these particular issues. But the formation of this particular task force, the approach and the policy.
Well, I mean, there can never be a better approach to deal with issues of corruption. There is always a debate, and I think that's why the four of us are here, or the five of us are here. But allow me to make some what can be considered controversial statements. Of course, number one, I support what the president has done, so that's not controversial. But we have known issues of corruption in Kenya to be led by the police. So we've always thought that the number one institution that is most corrupt in Kenya is the police, and then other institutions follow. But if you put the three arms of government and try and rate them on issues of corruption, I can confidently say that the most corrupt is Parliament. Parliament actually is number one, Parliament is number two, and Parliament is number three, and then the other institutions actually take number four going forward. Part of the reason is because, not even just part of the reason, it is a fact, and it didn't have to actually have been done any other time. It's been done now. President has said enough is enough, and the buck stops with him in a lot of conversations. And the issue of corruption in Parliament is known, especially those of us who have been fortunate enough to actually appear even before some of these committees in Parliament, and even the instances that the president mentioned. It is actually standing order number 0001, which doesn't exist, is that thou must pay something to appear before Parliament. That's a given. Even if they are going for a normal committee meeting for which they are paid an allowance, there's always the question is that what's really on the side. And so it's not just basically the anti-money laundering bill that actually came to fruition in the context that it did, and whatever the president mentioned about it. I don't think that there is anybody who has appeared before any committee in Parliament without facilitating that process. I mean, I'm waiting to see which Kenyan or which executive or which private sector person or any other person who has appeared before Parliament without that question being asked. I don't think that there's been any impeachment proceedings or governors or county governments that actually appear before Parliament or committees of the Senate without being asked in advance or soon after to actually facilitate. So to me, I really think, and I'm going to be one of the courageous Kenyans joining the president, that the most corrupt institution among the three arms of government is actually Parliament. And of course, there is the aspect of who then facilitates that sort of exercise. But thou shalt not appear before Parliament if you've not facilitated. Okay. So there cannot be, I mean, back to your question, there cannot be a better way, there cannot be a way that you say, okay, fine,
this is the approach we actually should take, because, I mean, we've always known that there is corruption. So somebody has to just say enough is enough. But I've seen members of parliament up in arms. And my brother here saying that there will be a problem in parliament if they continue, if this sort of standoff continues. I would rather this standoff continues. I would rather even parliament be dissolved. In fact, I think that even forming the multi-agency sort of task force to me is not far enough. It should be that actually this parliament should be dissolved. And you'll see all of these guys trooping back, because in any case, they are there. They are in parliament. Even those who are there as independent candidates are there basically on courtesy of what we call the political leaders. You know, last time I was there, I told you that what we call parties in Kenya, so members of political parties do not really exist. What we have is actually, in my view, political leaders and followers of those political leaders. And nearly all these members of parliament are in parliament courtesy of President Ruto or Prime Minister Raila or their party leader. And so right now they'll jump around, they'll nyef a little bit for some time. And that's going to end, because they're still going to actually do what their party leader really says. None of these guys can actually make it to parliament on their own. I mean, of course, I give it to the independent candidates. None of them can actually make it on their own. If parliament was dissolved today, all of these guys will go home.
Okay. Mwangi, now to the question that I asked you a little bit earlier on. Now, in terms of approaching it, how should they approach it, especially to this task force that has been set up?
Firstly, Hashim, our constitution envisaged political interference in the fight against corruption. What it did, it formed what it calls Chapter 15 institutions that were protected against such interferences. One of such institutions is EACC. EACC does not need propping up to undertake its duty to fight corruption. It needs to be funded and to be left alone to do what it should do constitutionally. It's good for the president to say, all right then, let us assist EACC in doing its duty. But then, and let it be known that I have no problem whatsoever with the president's decision to say enough is enough, let's fight corruption. Mine is to call out a hypocritical president who for 2 months knew that the people of Isiolo did not get justice in the Senate. That money was used to interfere with a legal process to send home a governor who is unfit,
but
if at all that was the case.
Cannot interfere with the impeachment proceedings of the Senate.
He knew, and he knew that money had exchanged hands, right? Forget about him being even a citizen. As a president, as a good citizen, when you know too well that you have information to the extent that Kimani is in the office, courtesy of a wrong having been committed, and you keep it for 2 months, then we have a right to ask you, why were you keeping quiet for that time? That is my beef with him. I have no beef whatsoever with him deciding that we should fight corruption. It is the genuineness of doing so that I question. Right? If Mankes today came and tell us we want to oversee a committee to deforest, then we would understand that they are not genuine because they live in the forest. Now, when you see a person who by all means has been an enabler of corruption in the country, all of a sudden telling us now we must fight corruption, we must ask what has happened. What we needed to do from the word go is to stop political interference of institutions in this nation. We have seen, and this is not a doing of UDA or the Kenya Kwanza regime only, we have seen political elites weaponizing these institutions against dissidents. We've seen EACC go to fight corruption, but doing so in isolation. So they target those who are critics of the government. They're the ones they punish when it comes to corruption. Well, when you catch a thief, whether he's a critic of the government or a proponent of the government is okay. But then how you do it must be in a just way. You don't fight corruption because we are not friends of the government, you target us.
Okay.
That is weaponizing institutions to fight corruption, which is wrong, and which has been happening with political interference. So you asked me what should be done.
Yes.
Let us stop political interference of institutions that are supposed to fight corruption. EACC should be left alone to do its job. And by the way, I'm even wondering, shouldn't we now even petition the president to hand over this evidence he has to EACC so that EACC can do its work? And shouldn't we petition him to do a presidential dissolution of the National Assembly now that he has all this information on how bad this National Assembly or the Parliament bodies, so that people can be given a mandate to elect new leaders?
Okay, Mwangi, let me allow others, so given that we're running out of time also.
I think already Mwangi is politically interfering with institutions, because he says that these institutions only target people who are against the regime. Already you are politically interfering with those institutions. Secondly, Mwangi, again, you need to know that these are political bodies. EACC is a creation of a political system, and we are in a political system. All you could have said that these institutions need what we call political goodwill, so that they are supported, so that they're able to. That, for example, if you accuse so-and-so of being corruption and you report it to EACC, when EACC requests you that tomorrow we are taking this guy to court, please be a witness for EACC. Sometimes we accuse people, but when we ask again, can you be a witness in the case that you brought? Then you say, I don't want to be a witness in that particular case. You're not supporting, actually, your own initiative. Number 3, Parliament. I have told you here severally, Abdi. We've had discussions here severally. Yes. When we had crisis of life living here, you know, when we had Gen Z, I told you, for this presidency, under this government, and President William to survive even post-2027, he must take radical decisions, very radical decisions. And this particular decision and this particular discussion he was having in Homa Bay, and they had yesterday, it is so radical. Saying Parliament is corrupt. When Sifuna says that he needs Parliament to run government, and he's saying Parliament is corrupt, he is taking a radical decision. For even those Gen Zs and the people who are calling the president, stop the fundraising, stop this, stop this. You remember all the things that they were calling up to. Yes. For them to be addressed, and even austerity measures. Do you know that parliamentarians will just even visit sometimes Dubai to go and do nothing, to go on a fact-finding mission that is not known very well, and per diem is paid on that? That is also corruption. Because even the reports that they give, and so by Parliament, I mean the Senate, I mean the National Assembly, and I mean 47 county assemblies. Even those 47 county assemblies, for them to pass the budget of the county, the executive, the governor must give something. And that is what Dr. Mark is talking about. Dr. Mark is talking about that you cannot attend Parliament committee without giving anything. I personally, as Oscar, have been approached that there's a governor so-and-so who is going to attend a transport committee, has been called by a transport committee. And what Raila Odinga was saying the other day, that Senate has no right in our constitution to invite governors.
What?
Yes.
What is the mandate of the Senate then?
No, the mandate of the Senate is to protect the devolved unit.
Is it not to oversight the governors?
The direct oversight of governors is the assemblies. The county assemblies should be oversighting the governors. The Senate has the responsibility of impeaching governors. So the first line of oversight should be the county assemblies. The people who should be inviting governors for questioning are the county assemblies. The Senate has no business. After every one day, they're inviting governors. The people supposed to invite governors are MCAs at their county assembly. Based on auditor's report, they check the auditor's report, then they invite the governors, because those things are being done at the devolved unit.
Yes.
Then Senate is not supposed to directly oversight the governor. They're supposed to be, when the county assembly has oversight the governor is corrupt or wrongdoing, the county assembly sits down. What do we do with the governor? We impeach the governor. If we've impeached the governor, the final say goes to where? To the Senate. It gets impeached. Presidency impeachment, the National Assembly initiates the process of presidential impeachment. The final thing is done by the Senate. For example, when Gachagua was being impeached, the National Assembly charged him of 8 charges. Only 5 were used to impeach him. The Senate only passed 5 to impeach Gachagua. So Gachagua was impeached based on 5 issues.
Okay.
But the National Assembly impeached Gachagua, started the process based on 8 issues.
Okay.
So the Senate just has the final say. But the business of the Senate calling governor is a money laundering thing. It's something that, like...
Yeah, we cannot ascertain that if it is a money laundering scheme. Okay, Sifuna,
Yes.
given that we need to finalize on this particular issue, I need to ask you, gentlemen, about that particular pact that was formed between ODM and UDA during that particular PG meeting. Your final remarks on this, and going forward, in terms of genuinity and the people, what about the people? Given that you're arguing, the president should call both speakers of the houses, the leadership of the houses, then what is in it for Kenyans? If you're going to call people behind closed doors and address those particular issues, how is it transparent to the people you're supposed to serve?
For me, thank you for that question. For me, I think the president, and first, even before I answer that, right now you see the things that we are going through right now, because we don't have a strong opposition. If we have a strong opposition right now, I'm sure 100% we had never had maybe these issues that we are having.
But we have an opposition.
Now. We don't have. That one I can tell you
Who are the Mathakaruas, who are the Kalonzos, who are the Matiangis, who are the
you can be opposition,
yes.
But there's a way, the way you handle opposition is not the way that's supposed to be done.
Okay.
Because right now you see this broad-based thing. When the broad-based thing came, you see even right now the theater side is supporting what his president said. When you come to the government side, so these people there, they are working together. So there's nothing that these people can oppose. Anything that comes on the table, their support. It's only yesterday when I was following the procedure, the sitting. That's where I see now the two houses, now they are divided. They are not comfortable with the way president are approaching, or the issue that the president has brought, the regarding to corruption issues. So, but for me, as your question, for me the approach right now, you know, the political like me, as a political or as a politician, you know, right now I can say something because maybe I want to gain mileage, or maybe there's something that I'm targeting. That's why I've said earlier, the approach for our president, the way he's doing his thing, or the way that he's talking about corruption issues, this is something that is supposed to be internally, not as a public. Because at the end of the day, we still need these people. Another thing, the public maybe can say, these people, they are corrupt. It is okay. We agree. The parliament is corrupt. They are getting corruption from the governor, from the whatever organization, because to be favored. That is fine. But now, what about, because you are the head of state, what about you? What have you done? Unless maybe now, what the allocation that the president has brought on the table, unless we see these people, they are in court, or these people, they are in charge. That is the only way now we can say, now in the right direction.
Okay.
Yes.
Let me allow Dr. Mark for the final remarks on this particular issue so that we can move on to the next, given that we're running out of time.
You know, President Uhuru once said that we lose 2 billion shillings a day, which is about 60 billion shillings a month, and that's around 720 billion shillings a year. That is almost 30–40% of our annual budget today. And I want to just correct my brother here, Kimani, that you know, Uhuru said it and did nothing about it. Ruto has seen it in just about 2.5 years or 3 years, and he's saying, this is not sustainable, as Oscar says. It cannot continue. It cannot continue this way. And I would tell Sifuna that there is no proper way of doing it except saying, Tosha Gari, we have to actually do something about it. And that is really what is happening. And I think that I would support the president. Even, like I said, I really think that we should go a step further and dissolve parliament. And maybe just bring in new leaders. Because like Prime Minister Raila said, what's the Senate got to do with inviting the governors or summoning the governors? Every single committee summons the governors. When do they actually really work? And then when you look at the committees of county assemblies, they don't even have the wherewithal to summon a governor. Why? Because they are all sitting there at the interest of the pleasure of the governor in many ways. And then these members of parliament, they are shocked because all of them are sitting there at the pleasure of the president and their party leaders. And the two main party leaders have said enough is enough. You know, when Kimani says that when did Ruto see the light? Yes, he has seen the light, and it's okay for him to actually say what he has said, and it's okay. Even if Parliament dissolved today, Kenya will not end today. There'll be other leaders that will be elected, and I wish elections were sooner. And that is why you have seen Parliament, or members of National Assembly and members of the Senate and the senators refuse to actually really work on the recall bill or act. They have not done it because they want to make it as difficult, more difficult for all of us to actually attempt to actually recall them. Parliament stands accused. Parliament is corrupt. Parliament needs to be dissolved. Actually, to me, I think that is this resolution that this task force should actually come up with. And it needs to start
that will
somewhere.
be influencing the... let them investigate.
Yeah, but I'm already giving them my view.
Yes.
They'll be collecting views. I'm giving them the views for free.
Finally, Doc, given that we are running also out of time, let me start with you, Kimani. You saw the PG meeting happening between ODM and UDA. They're clearly stating there is no coalition here, but what are we seeing ahead of the 2027 polls between those two political parties?
Well, the broad-based government was essentially meant to prop up a government that had lost its legitimacy after the demonstrations and protests we had with the youthful populations of the nation. Odinga did very well to give legitimacy to Kenya Kwanza government, and I think he's been compensated well enough, politically speaking. I fail to understand how Ruto lives with the usual statements from ODM that they brought in experts to salvage a sinking ship. If I was the president, that is very insulting, because the president isn't short of people who could have done what Bandi and others are doing. It is a marriage of convenience that has held so far. I think when I look at it politically, I would think for once, Raila Odinga is home. I don't see him bolting out of this marriage. I see him supporting President Ruto comes 2027. And I see if President Ruto wins, I see these continuing. But we in the opposition are also determined enough. We have our candidate, presidential candidate, Matiang'i, will unleash him against Ruto, and I can tell you, take this to the bank, that we shall beat this coalition hands down come 2027. We'll do it very early.
I want to know which bank.
Oscar, given that you're running.
For me, on the broad base and the UDA and ODM pact that was there yesterday, all along, whenever we have such a pact, the country has moved and the country has developed. Thika Road was because of Grand Coalition, and you know what happened. And anytime we have such a coalition where we have something like an opposition inside government, there's push and pull, development and the people benefits better. When we had Mwai Kibaki and Raila Odinga push and pull within Prime Minister and the President, you know what happened, and we can see SGR, Thika Road, and a lot of things that happened during that coalition. So those coalitions are very good. Parliamentary systems, whenever they survive in Europe, wherever, you know, most of the time, is the coalition that really works in those other one-party system, or just the opposition and government. Sometimes it doesn't work. I think in Sweden we have something called a moderates. The moderates are people who are not left wing and not right wing. The moderates and its development. Now, We know, too, we had professor of politics here called President Moi. He used to call himself the professor of politics. I think in the current time and regime, the most shrewd politicians in the country, I would say there are two. It's Raila Odinga and William Ruto. These two. If these two unite, game over. It's done. It's done. Matiang'i, like Kimani is talking about, has never tested the electorate. But these two are very sure. And I told you, if the president does radical things are like, tell parliament, like, they've gotten over. You see, they're talking the same language. There's an attack on parliament now. And the two are talking the same language to tame parliament. And Machiavelli says, Nicolo, that the prince doesn't need to be respected. The prince needs to be feared. And I think in this case, the whip is on. Parliament, shape up or go home. The leadership has said, and the two, when they unite together, and I'm not saying, like just Monk is saying, I think they are united. And 2027, it's done case.
Okay. Sifuna?
My brother, there's some few things maybe I can disagree with you. You know, we cannot say or we cannot assume that at the end of the day, if a former prime minister stand with the president or UTA, because the way I see how things are going, these people maybe they are going to form a coalition where prime minister and the former prime minister and his team and the UTA, they will come together.
They are already together.
Okay.
They are already together, but to come to the election that is coming 2027. By the end of the day, my brother, what I can tell you for free, we need people to support that. And if we are not, if the government is not going to put the good policy and get support from the people, there will be nothing. Because for me, I see where a former prime minister came on in this government, just like to rescue. Because what happened, and I can support my brother here, what happened during last year, the Mandamano thing, the picture was not a good picture to the government. So, and the only option was to bring someone like former prime minister to come in the government, maybe the way I think is stand with Mr. President so that to cool the pressure to come down. By the end of the day, if the people they are going to decide, unless you bring someone even senior more than a former prime minister, at the end of the day, we need the support. We need the support or the will for the people of Kenya to stand with you or to stand with the government.
Okay, Daktari?
You know, I have a 13-year-old son who usually tries my shoes, and it's okay. So that's what the opposition is trying. That's another. But in politics, truth be told, it's all about interests, individual political interests, and when those interests actually converge, that is when whatever happens, and that's how we have actually ended up with broad-based government. Because our Kenyan politics, and for the most part, Africa's politics, it's not based on any issues, ideology, and of course, even broadly, politics is about interests, and so the interests of Raila Odinga and the interest of Ruto did converge. It's not just because of the Gen Z, which to me is a big fallacy, and you can invite me one day here to actually talk about it as well. So the broad-based government actually brought some sense of calm in the country, or stability in the country. Who benefits when there's stability in the country? It is the citizens that actually really benefit. And so to me, to that extent, I think it is a good thing. Going forward in 2027, I said this when Prime Minister Raila was going to the AU, and some people thought that, if he misses AU, he will basically decamp from Ruto. And I said that will not happen. 2027, they're going to be together. Again, who's going to benefit? It's Kenyans who actually will benefit. And I want to conclude by saying that if you look at the last 62 years of independence, where Kenyatta ruled for 15 years. Moi ruled for 24 years. Kibaki ruled for 10 years. Uhuru ruled for 10 years. Ruto has been in power for 3 years. What Ruto actually has achieved in the last 3 years is far much more than what the other 4 or 5 presidents have achieved in the last 58 years. And so I don't see where there's going to be a problem.
Affordable house.
Unfortunately, we are running out of time.
If you try to rent houses in your village now, you won't make money because
Allow me
affordable
to close
house.
this off because you see, we have a second hour. Thank you. That has been, wait. No, Mwagi. We are running out of time. And you know, right now we have chance, so we have a lot of commercial breaks. So allow us to take that particular break. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for making this particular conversation lively. Dr. Mark Matuga, senior political analyst, because you had the chance, Kimani Mwangi, a public policy analyst, governance and public policy expert, Evan Sifuna, finally a political analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Of course, it will seem the political season has kick-started on a high note. Of course, the analysts, you can see even from their conversations here, it will be an interesting one to see ahead of the 2027 polls. In the second hour, we'll be talking about Africa's healthcare challenges. Of course, Dr. Rosalind Nguge, consultant physician and the president of the KDSG, chair of KAP Nairobi branch, is already here in the studio. So don't go too far. That conversation is up next.
Praise the Lord. My name is Pastor Tim Mwangi, and I want to invite you for a life-changing, transformative show.
I was blinded and thrown to the floor on my knees, just like Saul.
Conversations.
Gen Z ni nani? E-boldness mnatoa wapi?
Kuna mentality fulani yenye inakujanga, si a rebellion really, but ni ya ku-question system.
Engagements that are life-changing and provocative.
When you are young, your core business should be to create value in yourself.
Join me, DJ Andy C, bringing to you Kingdom Vibe, full of gospel bangers.
Join us for Angaza Show.
Every Saturday from 5 p.m.
only on KBC Channel 1.
Habari muhimu ni zile zinazoathiri maisha yako, na zinapojiri tuko hapo.
Tunakuletea habari zinazojiri nchini na kimataifa.
Hakuna kabila ambayo iko hapa Kenya kwa mwaliko ya mwingine.
Mambo ya matibabu isiwe starehe ya watu wadosi.
Tunakufahamisha kila wakati ili uwe tayari kwa yajayo.
We will also be designating the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations.
Katika ulimwengu unaosonga kwa kasi, usahihi wa habari ni muhimu.
The only thing that has changed, Senator Khalwale, is that you are defending the indefensible.
If you allow me as a bullfighter, I'll fix him here and now, and it will be sorted out.
You were doing very well until you brought out your character of bullfighting.
Tunakupa habari sahihi na zisizoegemea upande wowote.
Pindi tu walioteuliwa wataidhinishwa na bunge la kitaifa.
Na ni hapa ndipo
Darubini,
kila siku ya Jumatatu na Jumanne
saa 1 jioni.
Green
Greetings in the name of the Most High, Jah Rastafari. My good name is Marley Moses, the positive warrior, alongside...
Yes, sir, DJ D-Rage, the baddest. Each and every Wednesday from 10 p.m. on KBC Channel 1 TV.
Tunakuletea the biggest reggae party in 254 in a yard extra. Extra niceness of reggae music.
Extra dose of entertainment.
When the thing is nice, we
have to do it twice.
The world of governance is vast and can be alien to the ordinary man on the street.
Critical issues are going to be discussed.
From white papers to policy positions, it is easier to get lost in the labyrinth of words.
Inside Government takes you to key global metropolis where critical decisions are made and where policies are crafted.
We interview policymakers and senior government officials to highlight and enumerate government policies and projects. We take a deep dive into the underbelly of complex red tape to demystify policies across the country, across the world. Join me, O'Brien Kimani, on Inside Government, only on KBC Channel 1.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Kenya.
Wake up with Good Morning Kenya, the morning show that's got it all.
We dive deep into issues shaping our country.
Youth are a voice of a nation.
What is the next step for the young people?
Unpacking political landscape from Monday to Wednesday.
We discuss family matters.
It is very important to guard your relationship.
And for your health.
Someone doesn't wake up and they become an addict. It's in stages.
We've got you covered each and every Tuesday at 9 a.m.
Every Wednesday, it's all about the viewpoint.
A day in politics is like 1,000 years.
Unpacking the biggest stories of the week, getting you insights and getting you ready for your day.
And the package is not yet done. I get to fix your Thursday with some entertainment. Entertainment Thursday, it is.
Good morning, Kenya.
We shape your day.
Good Morning Kenya, every weekday morning on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. This second hour we are focusing on health matters, especially tackling Africa's healthcare challenges. Joining us right now is Dr. Rosaline Ngugi, consultant physician as well, and the president of KDSG, chair of KAP Nairobi branch. Now there is an upcoming conference, an annual scientific conference that is tailored to theme fostering regional partnership for health innovation and research in Africa while highlighting non-communicable diseases, guidelines, patient care and conference expectations. Daktari, welcome to the set.
Thank you for having me.
And Daktari, before I get to the conference, we'll be getting to that. Let me start with this particular issue. Non-communicable diseases have been a major problem, not only in Kenya, but in the whole of Africa. So in terms of prioritizing this discussion in the upcoming conference, how do you expect not only the participants, but the stakeholders who are there to tackle this particular issue?
You know, for the longest time, the focus has only been on communicable diseases, specifically HIV and TB. And if you look at actually the expenditure has always been focused on that. Now, what is interesting is these people are living longer, the ones with HIV and TB, and they're now developing these non-communicable diseases, which are diabetes, hypertension, and cancer. Now, some of the things I can tell you, we had our conference earlier in the year for diabetes, and we realized in as much as we say the prevalence in Kenya is between 3.3 to 4.5, we think it's underestimated. Why? Because we are not screening. We're not focusing on prevention. The average Kenyan actually does not go for regular medical checks. Like I'd ask you, when was the last time you did your blood sugar or your blood pressure? I checked mine today. How many years has it been since you actually visited a hospital just for checkup? So what we are doing is first collecting data. Let's show the research. Because if I am not able to show a policy maker what the problem is on the ground, then we cannot be able to then influence policy on should we focus now, refocus our efforts, because what our patients are dying of is heart attacks and strokes in the background of diabetes and hypertension. And then the killer now is the obesity pandemic that is here with us, that has been driving all these non-communicable diseases. So what we need to put on the table is first recognize that one, it's a problem.
Okay.
Then number two, collect the data showing that it is a problem. Then now we refocus the efforts on a three-pronged approach. One, education. Number two is then prevention by ensuring that you go and do your checkups. Then if you are diagnosed, ensure that you manage well and then prevent these complications. Then if you do develop the condition, then are our facilities equipped to actually manage this? And that's why you see us inviting Ministry of Health, so that they understand the problem that is there on the ground. And then we can then be able to address the issues that are there with us. That's the purpose of the conference. You know, when we talk about Kenya Association of Physicians, that's our umbrella body that looks at all the specialists in the country. That's your diabetologist, your cardiologist, your nephrologist, oncologist, all together. And they come together and we say, this is what we have found is a problem. We found lung cancer or breast cancer is on the rise. All right, so we need to screen for it more. We're finding diabetes in patients with cancer or hypertension, and can we then address these issues? So you'll find we'll share quite a bit of what we have in our specialities, and then we can be able to have dialogue about it.
Yes. And in terms of, given that at least you are here, and I'm sure you want to showcase those particular research in that particular conference, but what is the main factor that has led to where we are right now as a country and as a continent, especially when it comes to non-communicable diseases?
The number one problem is lack of education. We don't understand how big the problem is because we've always assumed we are well, we are healthy, but we don't do checkups. So from the physician's point of view, we need to go out there and actually have more educational sessions. That's why you see I'm seated here, because I want to tell you, your grandmother seated in Turkana or Garissa does not know that if she starts peeing excessively, drinking lots of water, doesn't go for an eye checkup, will miss diabetes until it's very late and she requires an amputation. So number one we focus on is education. And that's why, as a society, we then formed the college called the Eastern, Central and Southern Africa College of Physicians, which I'll talk about a little later. Let's try and capacity build. Let me increase the number of specialists who can be able to diagnose and manage the condition. On the other side is, we work with community health promoters and we give them, say, blood pressure machines and sugar monitors. People don't want to come to the health centers or the clinics. So how about we refocus our efforts and we send you your cousin who's a layman and we say we give you certain numbers. If this shows that it's high, send them now to the next level, a level 2 or 3 facility where someone can actually take them through that. Now, if you find one person who has a problem, say, with diabetes, then we screen the whole family. So we've caught 10 people in 1 week, which we ordinarily would have not until they presented later. Then the other one is, now we recognize that we have a problem. What are we going to do about it? Are our facilities equipped to actually handle these numbers? No, we treat malaria, typhoid. You see that's only being managed in the health centers. Yet what is killing people is actually hypertension. I went and did a medical camp, for example, in Voi. And the average blood pressure, normal should be about 120/80. Do you know the average blood pressure was 190/80? And they're perfectly stable and they're like, if it's not causing me pain, why do I need to treat it? And that's when we realized education was key, but poverty is also a problem. So she says, do I buy food or do I take your medicine? But then if you don't take your medicine, that's how you collapse in your shamba and people wonder what happened to you. And so there's a lot of misdiagnosis. So what we are doing is trying to approach it from different levels. Work with Ministry of Health, work with relevant stakeholders, and then we come together and give you solutions. And this is what we do. We tell you that there's a pandemic of obesity, diabetes, hypertension, heart failure, cancer. And then tell you, when you come just once a year, the amount of money I'll spend on just doing a random blood sugar, which is on average between 200 to 500 shillings, is the difference between you actually being managed as outpatient than being admitted in hospital, and then you spend millions of shillings. Because we've realized we are top heavy. You have a lot of people taking insurance, spending a lot of their money managing chronic kidney disease, heart failure, diabetes with complications, when these are people we should have caught 10 years earlier. We're saying diabetes is reversible for a certain period of time where you don't need medication. It just means a lifestyle change. I like the fact that you're seated there with a bottle of water. As opposed to you've had your cup of tea and you've probably had 10 of them with sugar in every cup. So when you look at that, you're actually reducing your risk. But what I want to ask you is, you've sat here from morning. Have you stood up to walk around? Have you, if you actually had a smartwatch like I do, it would actually tell you after 30 minutes, wake up, you've been sedentary. How much exercise do you do if you're here from 4 in the morning till late at night? When do you prioritize your health? And that's what we've realized. We have been sending the message of they come to see us when things are really bad. By the time you're coming to see Dr. Ngugi, the physician, then you know the GP wasn't able to manage you or the clinical officer. That means there's a problem. And we are saying that work is too much up there. So and that's why we say, let's first train people, but at the same time, let me train the other cadres to understand the problem. Screen for them, look for them, because diseases don't come and say, a patient won't come and say, I have diabetes or hypertension. I have these symptoms. I've been feeling tired. I get headaches, and I don't know what it is. We check your blood pressure, and we find it is high. And we ask you, did your mother or your grandmother or anyone else have high blood pressure? Is when you realize that yes, it's probably been there all along, you just didn't realize. And by treating one, you've treated a whole family, and then by extension, the in-laws. So can you imagine how many people you've managed just by screening? So that's why we're looking at it in different approaches. Looking at screening, then adequate management, and then from there, we are saying we can treat all these conditions in Kenya. You don't need to travel out of the country when we are ensuring that we are training specialists. And that's a mandate for the Kenya Association of Physicians.
That is very good that you've brought about that particular issue of Kenyans traveling abroad. But in terms of affordability, because you see the era we are in right now, not everybody can afford that insurance, SHA or any other private insurance. So in terms of ensuring there is affordability to address these concerns, as an institution, as a body, how have you addressed it?
So one of the things we look at is, are you involved with the technical working groups for Ministry of Health? When they call us to talk about, say, SHA and its coverage for chronic diseases, for kidney transplant, for oncology, we make sure that we are involved in that. When you look at the Kenya Essentials medical list, and you look at the kind of drugs that are there, are we then insisting on originals only, or we are saying these generics can actually be useful? So we ensure, one, that we control also the test. You know that there is the, when you work with PPB and you also work with the medical labs, you have to ensure that they're actually managing, one, the costs. Because what you'll find, say, in Turkana is not what you'd find in Nairobi. The cost is also 10 times. So now we are sitting down with other stakeholders and saying that if it is in a public hospital, give packages. If I have, say, diabetes, and I want to come every 3 months, does that mean then that I will have to pay consultation the same amount, the test the same way? No, and that's why we are creating packages, and that's why you see even SHA has the packages for testing, for medication, so that we know it is covered, and it's not as you would if you have, say, malaria and you need just medication for 3 to 4 days. At the same time, we go and we sit down with the Ministry of Health and say, can we prioritize and address, when it goes to looking at the budget, how much money is coming towards health? How are you saying that this is the amount of money that goes to public institutions? This is the work that private institutions can do. And we want to, it's in such a way that, you see, when the idea of SHA came in, it was that you pay a little bit more so that your grandmother can be able to benefit. I mean, it has its issues, but those are the things we are looking at. How can we make medicines more affordable? How can we convince you Don't wait until you're so sick that you require so much money to the point where you need admission. If I tell you come once a year and we guarantee you will not be admitted for 10 years, isn't that a good compromise?
Yes.
That's what we are doing. Yes.
And in terms of, given that you're saying you're going to raise awareness in this particular conference, you're talking about even inculcating it to the hospital levels. You do know the first interaction for most Kenyans, it's down there. In their devolved units. So in terms of regional partnership, how has it been to further the cause that you're currently on?
So I'll give you an example of one of the projects. Because I'm the president of the Kenya Diabetes Study Group, I am privy to quite a number of the studies that are ongoing.
Yes.
So when we get grants, like say World Diabetes Foundation, and what we are doing is going to all the counties, and we get, like, of the counties, you get 2 or 3 facilities, and we encourage people to be screened and tested. And through that, we understand, 1, we train people. Number 2, we educate the community because we send community health promoters and we ask them, do you understand what diabetes and hypertension and all are? Do you understand what these conditions are? Then number 2 is we go to the health facilities. What do you have? What are you capable of doing? And where do you think you need the assistance? Now, if you're able to prepare this report, then I can be able to come and inform you, this is our pain point. This is where I think we need to focus. Like one of the issues was our doctors very well trained. So if we say we need a training, they come to Kenya Diabetes Study Group, I'll teach everything about diabetes.
Okay.
I'll work with the cardiologists and the Kenya Cardiac Society. We work together and we've created modules for training online. That's why AI is amazing, because we have now telemedicine. COVID taught us do virtual sessions. And then we come and do appearances like this. And so one of the things we do is we have radio interviews, TV interviews. We go down to the village and we sit down with them 4 to 5 days and we tell them, ask us anything you want. You've heard relatives talk about diabetes. You've heard about use of herbal medication.
Yes.
What is the effect? So that we dispel the myths, tell them the facts, and then try and see. And then what you do is come back a year later and see the effect. Because one of the things we do is we sit in our offices, have these grand discussions, and then it doesn't go anywhere. And we never go back to see what was the effect of our intervention. So that is why the conference brings together all these collaborators. And they ask us, if we were to give you funds, what are you doing with the funds? And we say, in these, say, 47 counties, this is the issue we picked up. The majority are having diabetes, hypertension. Refocus, instead of, say, antibiotics and all, make sure that essentials medicine list has medication for diabetes, hypertension, and then tackle obesity, simple things, nutrition and lifestyle. Yes.
And of course, in terms of ensuring that at the end of the day, the reason why we educate people, especially on non-communicable diseases, you do know there's stigma out there. At the end of the day, we do have our cultural beliefs. So how have you tackled it as an institution, especially ahead of this particular conference, in ensuring that stigmatization of individuals is reduced at least?
Can I tell you, it's interesting. You're more likely to get stigma over things like HIV and mpox than you would about diabetes and hypertension. It's not like at a party you'll go and announce. It's only when someone collapses you discover, yes, they have diabetes. And I remember we went on live TV once and one of the patients said, you know why HIV is managed so well in Kenya? Is that they go to funerals, they go to weddings, they go to churches, supermarkets, and they talk openly about it. And so what we've done with each of our members is we go out of our way. Before, you'd never see us coming for interviews, doing podcasts and all. It is because we feel there's a gap and information is key. So that if you want me to talk to my grandmother in Kikuyu, I'll get someone who speaks Kikuyu and we'll go on that radio interview. We'll go physically and do now runs where we go and actually talk to them on the ground at a level where we talk to them vernacular and talk to them about, these are the problems we are seeing, this is why a lot of your friends are dying, and this is how we are going to do. And so some of the things is translation of these items in English to one, Kiswahili, which is our national language. And then we're going a step further And we actually go and talk to them now in vernacular. Now, converting the English to vernacular and publishing is where we have a bit of a problem because of funds and translators. But if we are to have this interview, say in Kiswahili, we could very easily switch, not now, obviously.
Okay.
Yes, thank you for that. But that's what we do.
Yes.
We try going down to the level. It's the same way majority of the people out there are geriatrics, the elderly. And we find that there are a group of people who've just been ignored. We focus on the children, which we focus on middle age, but we always forget about geriatrics. And those are the people who have the biggest problems. They're the ones who have the NCDs. So what we're saying is, even before retirement, we come to your offices. Like we'll come to KBC and say, can I just take a day and we talk about NCDs? So we are going to schools, we are going to universities, we are talking now on live TV, and we even come to your homes. And wherever that we talk, we are at all levels. If I teach, say, the GP will go and teach the clinical officer will teach the nurse, and the nurse is the one who we work closely. Because if we don't work as a team, you'll never be able to achieve that. That reducing that gap for information, because we have a lot of misinformation out there about these conditions. And I feel people take a very long time trying to manage them on their own, and that's where the problem lies. It doesn't mean you come to see me when you're sick. Come and ask me for my advice. You understand? Come and just do your blood pressure. Walk into any pharmacy and do a blood sugar. Ask them, what does this mean? And you'd see it actually makes a big difference. So that's what we've been doing on the ground.
And I'm sure this is something that will come up in the conference. You clearly stated that you have integrated with technology, especially with even AI. But how you are tackling that particular misinformation? Because you see, when I have a condition, instead of going to a doctor, the first place I'll run to is Google.
Internet.
Yes.
And you can't stop anyone. I mean, it's a free country. So what we say is that, you know, before when you'd come and see a doctor, you tell them the problem, and then they give you a prescription and you walk out. Now we are saying we're empowering the patient, the client, and say, if you have questions to ask us, we will answer back. Okay? There's a difference. I have spent 15 years getting to where I am. I think there's a difference between me and Google, isn't it? And remember, this is computer generated. It's not speaking to the individual. How a disease would present with me is different from how it would present to you, your sibling, and even your parents. And so one of the things we try and do as much as possible is we are also sending information. We are creating guidelines. Let me give an example. We sat together with stakeholders, both pharmaceutical collaborators, Ministry of Health, and came up with guidelines for diabetes, for hypertension. We are working on obesity guidelines, and we've got a booklet that we now then disseminate to the healthcare professionals. So wherever you are in the country, how I treat in Mombasa is how I treat in Nairobi. So we've sorted out the clinician. And now that clinician will give health talks in the offices and all. And now we are encouraging more of community projects. That's why you see the president had focused more on community health promoters.
Yes.
I train them the basics. Then if they need more information, then now you come to the hospital. One of the other things we say is, when you take your mother to hospital, you could be my patient in a few years. I make sure you come in. I educate you. You go and educate your friends, your colleagues at work, and also the rest of the family members. So it's little by little, a few steps here and there, but that is why we talk about this now. And you have segments where you have health talks, and now we are ready to do that for free. You call us any day of the week and say, I want you to tell us about what's coming. Not just, COVID taught us something.
Yes.
It taught us that we need to get out of our cocoons. It taught us that there's so much information out there that's misinformation, that I'll sit in my office in between patients, make a short video of 30 seconds and tell you, these are the symptoms of hypertension. These are the symptoms of obesity and its complications. Can you go and be tested? And so that's what we are doing in our own spaces. We are not afraid to go on social media. We are going to funerals. We are going to hospitals. When you're there in the waiting room, you will find in all the hospitals these little booklets that have all this information. Get tested. Now we are encouraging wellness packages. Let me give you an example. I work at Kenyatta University Teaching Referral Hospital. And now you have a wellness package. And what we are saying is, before you can come to see the specialist, why don't we do once a year? And you'll do a full body profile. That's only 40,000 shillings. But it covers every system that by the time you're done, you know, I don't need to do this for another 2 years before I come back again. So if a public facility is able to do that, it means these services are available. The patients are just not being informed about it. So we do drives. And we tell you, can you come? We go into the community with the community health promoters. We use the chiefs. And we hear about someone who's been unwell. Can you come? We'll offer pro bono services so that people get managed. Yes.
Given that Kenya, we have made a lot of strides, especially within the health sector and especially that sector that you're currently working in.
Yes.
In terms of drawing what other African countries are doing better than us, what can we draw from them? We can inculcate it within our system.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. So let me talk a little bit about our college. So Kenya Association of Physicians realized there was a deficit. We have a lot of GPs, we don't have enough specialists, and you can see that the universities are few and you need more specialists. So we combined forces with 6 other countries. That is Uganda, Tanzania, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, okay? And now we're even having other countries like Rwanda and South Sudan. And what we do is they teach our students, and through that we started doing research together. And we realized that some of our systems are better than theirs. Like, we have guidelines, other countries do not. Then, like recently we were talking to Botswana and Nigeria, and they were talking about what they have done to try and decompress, because you have more patients going to level 5 and level 6 and not the lower. And so we switched the pyramid and we've said, can we empower these other cadres of healthcare practitioners? We train them and we tell them, if you have basic diabetes, you can be treated in a level 2 or 3. That we learned. Let me tell you what South Africa does. South Africa comes, you come and you train, and then they create a hub for an NCD clinic, where it's a one-stop shop. You can be managed by one doctor for diabetes, hypertension, obesity, cardiac failure, and kidney failure. And then when they can't beyond that level, that is when they refer. So that I am left to see the difficult cases, and we then now bring. So what we did in ExaCop is we realized then you need to train. You have to come to Nairobi or you have to go to Eldoret, because it was University of Nairobi and Moi Teaching Referral. Now we say we have all these specialists, but they're not training their fellow specialists. So we've created a college where they train where they work. You come to KU and we are training students. You go to Mata Hospital, you go to Karen Hospital, Coast General, MTRH and Joe TRH in Kisumu. Now we have those 6 hospitals training students for the 4 years. So what you do is someone is still taking care of the population while learning. When he's done, he enters into the system and he doesn't need to come and look for work in Nairobi. So now we're increasing the number of specialists out there, which is what we learned from South Africa. Now then you realize when you're talking to countries like Zambia and Zimbabwe, we have about, say, 350 to 400 physicians in Kenya. For a population of 52 million, that's a joke. It means we really need to churn out more specialists. But when you talk to other countries, you find they have 30 specialists or 50. So you realize as they come now for a conference, which is next week in Mombasa at the Pride Inn, you realize they are coming to learn from us. But then we realize there are some steps we jumped along the way which we can go back. Like we have newer drugs and we focus on prescribing the newer drugs. We forget that the older drugs can still be used, especially for people who need affordable medication. So sometimes we take a step back. You've seen recently a condition which we had eliminated called Mpox. Then we've had resurgence of it. We've learned the problem is every time we have newer drugs, antibiotics, we keep prescribing. Now the biggest problem we have is antimicrobial resistance. You go to hospital and you stay for 3 weeks because the doctor keeps on upping the medication, changing medication because of antimicrobial resistance. You're finding people dying of pneumonia where you ordinarily would not. And that's because now we have more diagnostic mechanisms, but the medication is not there. So we need to tell people step back. And we find some of the medications used in other countries, it's still functional. We stopped using it years ago. So we need to share. They're using, let me give you an example. We've started using AI in our facilities. Like Lions Hospital uses a fundus camera, okay? And you just look into it, it takes photographs. It tells you if diabetes has started affecting the eye. You take a photograph of a foot that's infected and you can tell the patient, this will heal in 3 months. Manage your expectations. And you can predict how it will progress. You'll say, this foot we can salvage, this one we cannot be able to. You understand?
Yes.
And then you have telemedicine. I'm seated in my office in Nairobi, and you have very difficult cases in Garissa, but you don't have a diabetologist. So once a month, they collect all these cases, the doctor is there, and then they present the cases. You can be able to use, like KU, you have tele-ICU, that you can project, this is the patient, this is how they look like, this is the current presentation, these are the current vitals, and what do we do? So we can be able to manage far-flung areas when we are here seated in the city center. That's how AI. So what we want to do is here, what is it that they're doing in the other countries? How are they incorporating it but not replacing? One of the studies I was involved in Thika, they got an algorithm of if you give a patient, say a 35-year-old with diabetes, hypertension, okay? And then you say, I would prescribe this and this and this based on that. And then we gave also the clinicians and we saw how they prescribe. Do you know that AI can actually help you choose the medication, choose what tests to do, and then tell them how often they should come and what tests they would do. So now we are saying, if say Mugumo Health Center cannot get access to Dr. Ngugi, then what they can do is ask AI, can you assist me? So AI is both good and bad. You need to be able to interpret. So they used us, the experts, to then look and predict and see, did AI give the right information? And that's some of the studies we're going to be talking about in the conference. How are we using AI? Let's not be left behind by technology, but can we be able to control its use so that people, one, don't abuse? We don't want a scenario where a patient goes, puts in their information, and then AI tells them what to do. There's a way a doctor can interpret, and you need to input certain things, then AI can tell you what to do, as opposed to if a patient is doing. So what we need to do is educate people on how to better use these tools. And then can it be able to reduce our burden? Yes.
And you saw what even happened in the United States of America when President Donald Trump came in. He cut off US aid. And in terms of many organizations who are depending, tell us if your organizations were depending even on that particular fund. But how have you worked closely with these international bodies, including even the World Health Organization?
Okay, so one of the things World Health Organization does is it provides a lot of funding for the grants, for research, and it's also important for training. Like for a lot of the specialists, let me tell you how our college is functioning. We have no funds as a society. We're doctors who have just come together with one common passion. Then through the Royal College of Physicians, who have trained physicians all along, they said, why don't we give you seed money and start what we have been doing in the UK. Now through that, they're training. So we're even privileged that the president of the Royal College of Physicians, Mumtaz Patel, is going to be with us in Mombasa to tell us how can we ensure equity in healthcare? How can we provide further training? So we have training opportunities, that is one. Number two, can we learn from them where they began? Like the way their system is run is very different from ours, yet it seems to support that system very well. especially if it is purely government run. We want a scenario where at the end of the day, if you walk into any facility, the care you get in public would be the same from private. So now when we go to WHO, one of the key things is it gives us guidelines. And we tailor our guidelines based on WHO. Provides funding so that we can be able to do research. Anytime a new molecule comes, you realize Africans are not included in that particular cohort. And some of the things the patients ask us is, are you sure it would work in a Kenyan? And we're like, no, but we need funding to be able to conduct that research. And that's why you have institutes like UNITID and CAVI that are now looking at vaccines. You know, it was very instrumental when we had the COVID that we needed to ensure that these vaccines that were given were going to be safe for the population. And that's where WHO comes in. When President Trump, you know, withdrew, there was a panic. I can tell you for a fact, one of the problems we have is when you're so used to donations, you don't look to see how you would sustain it if there was no funding. And that's something that we've learned. Why don't you receive the funds? See how it is run. Let me give an example. We have Novo Nordisk Foundation. What they do is they provide free insulin, free monitors under the Changing Diabetes in Childhood program. It covers for type 1 diabetes up to the age of 25. You come to the clinic, you're tested, you're educated, you're screened, and you're given your medication. Okay? Now, the question is, when you get to 25, who helps you pay? You're so used to getting things for free, then what happens then now when you have to pay? And that is where now some of our control gets lost because we can't afford. And so what we are saying is we go back to the drawing board and we ask Ministry of Health. We ask Treasury, listen, this is the data we have. WHO helped us get this grant funding. We've got the research that shows we need to refocus more on NCDs now. Can you increase that budget? Okay? And then provide this medication at a subsidized cost or even free. If someone can pay for SHA, then they get the medication for free. And that's how we work. But one of the things we need to learn as Kenya is we stop being dependent on donors. We need the donors. Let's get this straight. Through that, we can be able to generate the data and we can present these international conferences so that when we are talking about the trends of diseases, Africa is on the map. We need to stop saying we don't have data. That's why when you have these colleges, I want to know, is diabetes different in Kisumu as opposed to in Nairobi or in Mombasa? Are we experiencing the same problems and how are we tackling it? If we see a certain surge in cancers, particular cancers coming from a particular community, then I can tell the government, can you redirect these efforts so that now we train these people and we figure out, is it the soil? Is it the pesticides we're using? So that we go back to the drawing board. Like, let me tell you one of the things we learned when we did a research in Kibera, and we found that up to 60% of the children were obese. That means this 60% will be adults we have to take care of, isn't it? So you go back and you tell Ministry of Health with Ministry of Education, if you open a school, you have to have a playing field beside. Children have to have time where there's physical education. Then you go and you talk to Ministry of Agriculture. How are foods being provided? How are foods being generated? How are you planting? What pesticides are using? What herbicides? And then is there GMO? Isn't there? And then you go to KEBS and you say, you find that the labels are misleading. Let's change the food labeling. You understand? But where is this coming from? As technocrats, the technical experts. We work with them to drive change. So we got the funding, and the funding showed us the problem, okay? And they also give us medication. I remember what they gave us the vaccines for free. If we did not receive vaccines, we were looking at the number of deaths were going to be at the point where we could not have managed. And that is why, in as much as we are still seeing COVID, there's a problem. That brings me to the vaccines. We've got guidelines for vaccines. Do you know who is supposed to be vaccinated in this country? you believe it's only children, right? Do you know that majority of people die because of simple influenza?
Yes.
And I say, if you have a chronic disease, so we go back to NCDs. If you have diabetes, hypertension, chronic kidney disease, cancer, you have a schedule of pneumonia vaccine, flu vaccine, hepatitis vaccine. That's what we are talking about. Then we go, and if we invite the minister and he hears that there's a problem, there's a gap, why aren't our elderly patients being given the vaccines? And we say there's no funds. And we can't keep asking donors to give us free vaccines. Can we then manufacture our own vaccines? That is how we are influencing. Yes.
Okay. Aside from financing, given that there are numerous challenges that you do face as physicians at the end of the day, so what are these challenges that you're set to address in that particular conference?
Okay, one of the things is we've started a college. It's Eastern Central Southern Africa College of Physicians. But we have no funds to run the college. We call it the College Without Borders. You see, if you have University of Nairobi, you know the funding comes from government. If you have Aga Khan University Hospital, it comes from Aga Khan Education Board and all. And where does EXACOP get the funds? And this is where government comes in and we say, we are training physicians to take care of the population. Can you give us funds to help run the college? Okay? Then we are training these physicians. And we tell them this is the ideal, this is the standards we want. That I'm not going to train a specialist, then you put him in Mandera and you can't even check a random blood sugar. And so that's a problem. There's a mismatch. We are training, but the facilities that are there are just not equipped. You find in certain counties, they go and they put up CT scans and MRIs, or they put up even an ICU. But where are the doctors to run it? Where are the nurses? And so our pain points are, we train, but then the doctor is not able to utilize their skills adequately. And so you find someone leaving the country. Because do you know that Kenyans are, the reason why we are so popular out there is we're the best trained. And so we have the knowledge, but we can't practice. So what we say is we go back to the drawing board. And that is why we are saying, let's boost. Now, if you find Joe TRH has capacities, they have enough patients, but say they don't have the capacity to train about oncology, then come to KU and we'll train. But imagine this doctor is trained how to manage cancer, then goes to Thika Level 5 hospital, and there's no chemotherapy. There are no even tests to do a blood sugar, a hemogram, a full blood count, or a kidney function test. Is he going to utilize? And that is where rubber hits the road. That the society then recognizes the need for capacity building, for training, for research. Can the government meet us halfway? Can we ensure that all our facilities are equipped so that we can provide the necessary care? Okay? Then when it comes to the cost of education, it's quite expensive. An average student will pay for a master's 700,000. Okay? Now we've started a college where they're not paying fees, but we train them. Now, us as consultants, as we are working, we are training on the job. But I need to be paid, I need to be compensated. So I'm part of the training committee for EXACOP. And one of the things the consultant says, compensation for time. You pay teachers, you pay lecturers. We are lecturers, but we don't get paid. So you see, we need funding for our college. And that is why our appeal is, if we have the Minister of Health or PS of Medical Services coming for our conference, they'll understand where the pain points are. We need to enhance our facilities.
Have you invited them?
Yes, definitely. We are hoping that Adandwale and Oluga will show up so that they can actually come. You know, we're excited. It's our first graduation. where we'll be having 15 students from the region, but 9 are from Kenya. So for the past 4 years, we have trained painstakingly these students. I mean, the college has been there for 10 years, but our first batch is there. And I'd like the minister to sit in front of these graduates and tell them, you know what, if you want to go and work in Mombasa, okay, and you have a cardiac patient, we know we'll give you the facilities you can be able to treat. A patient doesn't need to leave Mombasa to come to Nairobi for specialized care. We provide the specialists you provide the facilities. We're very excited that, and we are hoping that, I know he's out of the country, but we are hoping he'll make it in time, especially on the 28th for the graduation, so that he can give us some assurances. We train, now give us the chance to treat Kenyans the way that they should.
Okay.
Yes.
Given that we're entering the final leg of our conversation, but what are the key takeaways we expect out of that particular conference at the end of the day, once it's concluded?
It's awareness. What are we doing in each of our, we're talking about, so we are training, so what we want to see is, what's our capacity building initiative? Are we training enough people? Can we increase capacity? And that's why I invite people from the Medical Council and then also CUE and the ministry. Then number 2 is, are there enough opportunities for research? We need funds to be able to generate research. Let's see what's been done. Let's see how we can collaborate, because we're having collaborators from the UK and from the US coming in to talk to us about what is it that they have in store for us. Then at the same time, we look at what we have done this far, what we could do better. We've got guidelines. Are they getting to the people who need it at the end of the day? So we need more capacity with education. And I think for a long time, the ministries work separate. What we're saying is, if we got a chance to work with Ministry of Education and Ministry of Health, can we incorporate some of these things in the KMTCs and the universities and the colleges to improve in terms of the knowledge, okay? And then look at all the specialities that are there. You'd be surprised at how many specialists are out there that the average Kenyan does not know. So one, raise awareness of where our pain points are. And here our focus is NCDs, NCDs, NCDs. You look at someone, are they likely to be looking at diabetes, hypertension, kidney disease, heart failure, so that then we go back to the drawing board and say, let's work together in a technical working group, come up with what it is that is our ask. Then we go back to government and say, we need this. Funds are released, we work together. So this conference, one, will showcase our college that we are very proud of. Okay? We call it the College Without Borders because we are assuring you, as Kenya Association of Physicians, it's our 28th annual conference. But for the first time, we are showcasing our graduates who are out there, and we are saying, these are people from Mombasa, from Nairobi, from Eldoret. You have new specialists. So you don't have to come looking for them in the main towns, like in Nairobi or Mombasa. You understand? Yes. Another key thing is, who are we collaborating with? Who are our partners? And how can we strengthen these collaborations? I get a student being trained by someone from Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, okay? Through that, someone says, I like this opportunity, goes to 3 months in the UK, comes back and says, I got these ideas on how we can change the outlook. Let me give you an example. In KU, about 3 months ago, we started an NCD clinic, and we said, instead of treating just diabetes and hypertension, combine them together. It reduces the cost, and you can actually ensure someone does not spend the whole day in hospital, but we cover for everything. And we take care of the patient holistically. Isn't that a better thing? Now, if this is a pilot project, then let it go and extend to all other counties. So we are sharing ideas. This is the only time physicians can come together and know what is diabetes doing, what is cardiology, what is oncology, because that one physician is the specialist for all the patients there. And when he's not able to, then you can send to the specialist. So we are educating our physicians and then giving them, throwing down the gauntlet. We give you the challenge. Go and do your work on the ground. Do your research, tell us your pain points, and then we redirect it to make noise where appropriate, so that our voices are heard. And at the end of the day, it's ensuring that we have a healthy country, healthy people.
Thank you for reminding me. There's a question I forgot to ask you. In terms of physician, the ratio between a physician and a patient, if you have those figures, kindly give us.
Yes.
Okay.
So ideally, according to WHO, for every doctor, one should be 10,000. We are only 400 physicians against a population of 52 million. Do I need to say more? I can tell you, and that's only physicians. When you talk about GPs, you're talking about up to 10,000. It means the numbers are just not enough. So what we're saying is, let's try. The GPs cannot be able to become physicians. This is an avenue. Exacop is an avenue. The problem is they could not, they had to leave their families and homes, and that's why Exacop comes in to train. But we need more funding. Ministry of Education needs to give us more funding. People can't afford to specialize. Remember, when you're training to be a specialist, you have your family, you have your bills, and then you have to pay for school. But we don't want you to leave your workplace. This is a homegrown solution. Why shouldn't we use it? And we have support from the Royal College of Physicians, through which we would not even have this. So we are grateful for our funders and collaborators, but now we are saying we need to sustain our college ourselves. Yes.
And maybe finally, before I ask you for your final remarks, talking about in terms of ensuring this is not just a talk show, a talk conference, what measures will you put in place to ensure that whatever the outcomes will come from that particular conference is implemented to the letter?
So the good thing about Kenya Association of Physicians, it's the parent body. And what we have is different societies, specialist societies. Like I'm the president of Kenya Diabetes Study Group. So whatever pain points were noted, whatever take-home messages, then that is what I'm going to ensure I take back to my society. We work on it. We present next year our data on what were the missing things, what did we need to change, and what are the outcomes. Like I'll tell you, we got funding from WHO on a fund, and they're looking at 35 out of 47 counties on screening. Someone will be discussing, this is what we found, this is what we educated them. Then let's go back a year later and let's see what is the outcome of the interventions that we did. So each of the societies will then be tasked that in cardiology we feel too many people come very late. Hypertension, heart failure. What are we doing about it? You come and tell us as a society. So each of them will be tasked with then now working within their groups, okay, to try and implement some of these things. If we say prevention, then they'll ask Dr. Ngugi, how many people did you train last year? Who did you train? What is the outcome of that? Has it shown any benefit in the number of hospital visits has reduced? Number of admissions has reduced? Have we had less amputations? Less people going on to dialysis? So if we work together, then we share this at the next conference, we keep each other accountable. And that's why we have our annual conferences.
And maybe finally, let me accord you just 1 minute to give us your final remarks on what to expect, and of course, going forward, what do you like to see, not only from the government, but other key institutions that you would like to come on board?
So one of the things, I've been organizing this conference for 10 years, and I can tell you, even funding for the conference is actually a problem. And our numbers are growing. So we need support, one, from the government, just to bring these different professionals together so that we can be able to meet. Number two is, we need help in terms of funding for these societies so that we are the ones who produce the data. So we need funding for research. It's very, very important. Then number two is, can we be involved in more meetings which involve healthcare at the very basic level, at decision making, at policy making, so that we can be able to incorporate what we feel is appropriate. But at the end of the day, it's funding, funding, funding. And then we encourage all physicians to attend, because our conference is at Pride in Shanzu between the 27th to 30th of August. One of the things you do, remember, we're getting delegates from all over the region. So we're also showcasing Mombasa and its beauty. So we're also contributing to tourism. So a little funding never hurt for all of us. But we're very excited, and just know that the physician you see today came and spent a few days in Mombasa, but made a difference in how they're going to manage your condition. So you spare us for the 3 days, but we welcome you to the Kenyan coast, just so that you can experience, one, the beauty of the coast, but understand what we are doing. A lot of the times people are in the dark about all the things behind the scenes. And then if you can have us more often, other than when we're coming for conferences, we're more than happy to give health talks and just talk about what we need to know,
Okay.
what's pertinent about NCDs. I'm very passionate, you can tell,
Okay,
especially with regards to diabetes. But thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but hopefully that particular 1 hour session has been very beneficial for you. That is Dr. Rosaline Ngugi, consultant physician and the president of KDSG, the chair of KAP Nairobi branch. Thank you for making time for us this morning on News Check. I need to pave way for my colleague, that is Khalid Abdullahi, who is currently up next with Kurunzi Mashinani. I'll be back later with the 1 p.m. news. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim. The sign language interpreter at the bottom end of the screen is Lucy Mora. Good morning for now.
The land of Harambee, tunainuka pamoja.
Tanzania is ready, nguvu ni moja.
Pearl of Africa, welcome everyone.